Hey guys, JH, welcome to Practice T. Okay, today, I'm going to just broach a subject that you just don't hear golf instructors elaborate on. And that is, simplistically guys, how does a golf swing work? A normal golf swing. What is the normal process of operation of a golf swing? What is it supposed to do? How does it work? Well, my understanding or my explanation of it is that it has to be a reflexive action process, and that is that the downswing has to be reflexive to what happened in the backswing, and that just as a basic elementary engineering and dynamic principle, the lead side always has to have a start on the trail side. These components here clearly have to lead these components on the downswing. Now, in a good golf swing, that happens automatically because the structure of the golf swing is so designed to create what is basically termed reflexive torque. And that torque factor, guys, is basically the result of the winding of the upper body against the lower body in the backswing. Now, how you do that, most of the time is dependent on the individual and his type of physicality, capabilities, and the way he's built. Guys like Freddie Couples and John Daly, those guys can stand there like this. Dustin Johnson, they can stand there with their hips at 90 degrees to the ball line and turn their shoulders 90 degrees to their hips and hardly move their hips because they have amazing flexibility in their core section here. Amazing flexibility. And their hip extensors. So they can basically stand there like that, turn the upper body against it. Now I can't do that. My hips have to turn to facilitate my lack of flexibility. But they can still develop even though they don't turn their hips. And if you're a flexible person, you can do the same. If you have great flexibility there, you can maintain this stability here and turn the upper body against that lower body, and you get tremendous torque because this is the hip girdle is staying in place and the torso is basically winding itself up like a rubber band against the hip girdle and the lower section of the body. Now, that's one way of doing it. If you're someone that doesn't have that type of flexibility, you've still got to get torque somehow in the backswing, because if you don't have torque, which is the elastic winding up property of the golf swing, if you don't have torque established at the top of the swing, there's nothing to start the swing from there to get it down to here and through there. There's nothing to start it down. There is no reflexive motion and process to reverse the backswing. This is a torqueless golf swing, guys. If I just take the club up to the top, I can stay there all day because there's nothing to start me down. And if I haven't built any torque, the only thing that can start that club down is this, is the hands or a throwing of the shoulders. Because there's nothing to start down. You have to have something that starts the downswing automatically, and that is usually the releasing of the build-up torque that you establish in the backswing, however you establish it. Now, I've just showed you a way of doing it if you're flexible. You can create tremendous torque by winding the upper body against the hip girdle. But if you're not flexible like me, I get my lately I've basically just turned my right leg out so I can get more hip coil. but I still feel to get the coil I need in my golf swing and to develop the power I need, I actually resist with my lower body against my upper body. And that is that this this lead vertical axis, which is this whole part of the anatomy here, from the shoulder down through the torso into that's the lead vertical axis, I just basically feel like I'm going to turn around that. I let that right leg turn like that, and I'm staying here. If I was to, even though if I had that right leg out and I had some mobility for the backswing and my hip turn, if I just moved off that axis there and went to here like that, again there's no torque, because I've taken this midriff section which you have to torque up, I've just taken it over here. You have to leave it here and you have to turn the shoulders against it. Now one of the ways you can do that is what I call the lead vertical axis. Just keep it in place and just feel like you're staying there, not stacking to it, just stay there, but just turn against it. Keep your head in place here. I feel like I've got a steel plate there, and I just push the arms back. I try and get my left shoulder over my right leg, which I don't do, but that's my thought. I just try and push that back to there while not moving my head, which is what Hogan did. And that's why Hogan's knee went that way, and why Snead's knee went that way, and all the great players of the 50s, 60s, their knee went that way, because they stayed over the ball when they turned it. Now Hogan was very flexible, and he turned his right leg clockwise on the backswing. He still turned his hip, but he maintained that lead side position. Now you can do that, guys. There's nothing wrong with that. I do that, and I get, good results out of it. But I feel a lot of tension in the golf swing, lots of tension in it. As I get to there, man, I couldn't stay there very long. This is always wanting to go there because I build up that tension, that torque. And of course that has to be released. You have to build that up, and then it has to release sequentially. Now the correct sequence of release is that the lead side precedes the trail side. And invariably it will if you build the torque up. If I build the torque up to there, it'll basically want to go there because it wants to unwind. You don't want to swing where you get to the top and you don't feel any tension in your golf swing. Here. Because nothing to start down, guys. How are you going to start it? You can't do that. If you whip the hips, there's nothing to take the hip girdle laterally, so you'll just spin out of it. You'll just turn the hips and you just go this way. Can't do that. So you have to build that elastic torque and tension in the backswing. Now if you're not flexible, just stay here. Keep your head here and push your left shoulder over what you think is to your right leg, and just keep your right leg turning so you'll get this look about you, which is very much a Hogan type pivot. Lots of torque there, and he was so flexible that he had to get his left side going early in the downswing, like in the backswing. He had his left side moving to the left because he was so flexible. He couldn't create torque with his midriff against his hip girdle because he was too flexible in the midriff. If he wasn't actually doing that to create extra torque in the backswing, he wouldn't have had any torque. He was so flexible. Jimmy DeMera called him the Indian rubber man because he could. Hogan, if you were over here and you called Hogan could turn his head around, not turn his shoulders. Just turn his head around like that and not turn his shoulders. He was so flexible in the neck and all the regions of the torso and the waist. But that's digressing. But people saw a lot of torque in his swing, and it's only because on the backswing he was moving this way. So he was creating the extra torque and load, because if he was so flexible, he could have just kept going. He'd have kept going, he'd have never started down. If he hadn't had this going as a precursor in the backswing, he'd have never got started in the downswing. He was so flexible. So guys, Basically, in a golf swing, the way a golf swing works is you've got to build up some elastic torque so that that torque can actually release itself in sequence in the downswing. And if you build up enough of it, and the build-up mechanism, which is the base of the golf swing, is good enough and structurally sound enough, it will release itself. See, when I get to the top here, my left knee wants to do that. Now, as soon as I do that, the left side's already moving and the club is trailing. But if I got to the top and I had no torque in the golf swing, I mean, the club would I just do that, throw from the top. The body would never go laterally. I would just get this action. Invariably, the ball would just go left to left, which would be a spin out. But basically, this type shot, no torque. Here, just a throw with the hands. You get just a straight pull left. Because there's nothing to start down, guys. You've got to do that. Now, you can't get away with that all the time because that amount will be different every time. Whereas if you build up the torque in your golf swing and you set the structure correctly and strong enough, you'll get basically the same activation process every time. That load factor will be the same if you do the same. If you have this nice structure here, push it away. See, that wants to do that automatically, providing I do the same thing all the time. I'm a bit different to most people. I never want to cock my wrists in the golf swing, so that gives me a lot of width in the golf swing. All my cocking of the wrist is on the download. I go here, I'm late early, and then I just and I don't jam it in like this. I go here late, and then I get width. But you'll see guys like Sergio who just jam it in here, and they get late. They get really late here and then fire it. Now he's very flexible, he can do that. Yeah, I don't like to do that. I like to get the width, and that gives me the timing. So guys, to summarise, the golf swing works by way of a good foundation here, good balance, and creating torque so that you can get a reflexive stretch factor that creates an automatic reverse response to the backswing. That's all it is. That's it in a nutshell. This structure must be good enough and have enough stability to create the torque. There's a lot of torque there, and I want to go. But if you don't have any torque, and conversely, if you're a flexible guy and you just turn your hips like that, you'll stay there forever, nothing to start down. So if you're really flexible, try and keep your hips just pointing straight on, just turn your torso and your shoulders against your hips. Because a lot of guys are really flexible. But the thing is, they don't use that flexibility. They just let all that flexibility go unused because they just turn everything to the right here. So there's no elastic build-up, no storage of torque in the backswing. So they've got nothing to start the downswing, so they do that. So invariably they get this look in their golf swing. Big, long, loose golf swing and just a throw. Whereas I've always had a short, high torque golf swing. And I know it's going to happen. I get the same feeling all the time. So guys, that's how a golf swing basically works. You have to build torque in the backswing, the right type of torque, through a really good foundational base, and then just release that torque in sequence, which is lead side against the trail side. Trail side's got to be a follower, and that's why it's called a trail side, and that's why this is called lead side. You know, the lead side's got a lead, and the trail side's got a trail. And you'll get a lot of pull. A lot of guys talk about pull and pushing in a golf swing. Well, I think a lot of people feel that they push, but invariably the guys that say they push, like Peter Croker when he had his golf system here in Australia, you know, Peter said, you know, this is what you do, you push the club there. But clearly in Peter's golf swing, Peter was this. I mean, his left side was pulling. He pulled. The only thing was he had more width, but he still had the pulling action. If you just think, you get to the top and you just throw it there, you're just going to throw the club into the ball. You can't deliver it into the ball. The ball doesn't get automatically delivered. It gets put on the golf ball. So So even the guys that think they push the club and throw the club, good players, they don't. It's a feeling. Harry Vardon said he did that. Harry Vardon said, I do that from the top of the swing. I get it going as quick as I can. Clearly in old film of Harry, he was here like everybody else. That was a feeling. But Harry, because Harry didn't have a lot of torque in his golf swing, but he had enough. Harry was that type of golf swing. But he still banged that left heel down to start the downswing. He didn't have a lot of torque, but he went bang. Same as Bobby Jones. Bobby Jones had no torque in his golf swing. None. Because he turned his whole body. This is Bobby Jones's golf swing. His hips turned as much as his torso, and his left heel came off the ground like this. But the first thing to start down was that. So he had his lead side leading, because this did that, even though he had no torque. He went to the top like that, and then he went like that. Same as Jack did. Jack had a lot of torque, because Jack kept that right leg bent, which Bobby Jones didn't, and Jack torqued up those big shoulders against those big thighs and hips, and then he just banged down. This was Jack. And then he just banged that. Yeah. And I've said before, Jack did that in every golf swing, and that's why he wasn't a good bunker player, because he never did that in his bunker playing. He didn't have the feeling for it. He didn't have that feeling. That's why he wasn't a great pitcher of the golf ball either, because he didn't have that. But all the long shots where he had that heel up and he could bang it down, that was his timing mechanism. Just a digression. So guys, that's basically how I think the golf swing works. Build the torque, and whether you build it by keeping the hips if you're flexible and just turning the upper body against it and feeling that reflexive action, or if you're like me, you stay here more on this trail axis and just push that lead side away here, and then that'll just give me that change of direction. But the main thing is, guys, a golf swing works through reflexive release of build-up torque. Simple as that. You have to build the torque up, and you have to build it up in the correct sequence. Just a little point. Invariably, people say, how do I start the downswing? If you have a look at your golf swing on video and have a look at the component that stops last in the backswing, you watch it. With Jack, it was his left heel. That stopped moving. That was the last thing to stop moving. So it has to be the first thing to start down. Someone like Freddie Couples, who didn't lift the foot, or Ernie, the last thing that stops moving for them is the left knee. With Ernie it's that, and so they just do that. They just start the component that is the last thing to stop moving in the backswing. You have to get that going as the first thing to start moving in the downswing. That is elementary reversal and sequence of the golf swing and its body components. Just think about that. Some people will lift the heel, so bang, like Bobby Jones, bang, bang. But if you don't lift it, this is probably the thing. Here, just have a look. Okay guys, that's my explanation of how the golf swing actually works. May not be the most eloquent, but I think it's very basic in its principles and its understanding of those principles. You just apply those principles and you'll be on your way to having a decent golf swing. But you must have torque in the golf swing, and enough torque build up against a good enough foundation, a structurally sound foundation, to start the downswing with a release of that torque. Okay guys, that's JH's explanation of how a golf swing works.